profitable. But here in multicultural Australia, all it's been able to do is kick a series of own goals. We've produced lots of talented players who grace the glamour sides of Europe, but here at home, soccer just doesn't rate. The prize that could lift its profile is a place in the World Cup finals, but that's eluded Australia for more than 30 years. Now, as well as the revamped league, the national side has a new coach and is about to embark on another campaign for World Cup glory. Adam Shand has our report.
To the back post, Hughes there, back across! 2-0 is the most dangerous scoreline in the game. 3 minutes into the second half against Iran at the MCG, and Australia was already thinking of France '98.
And after that second one went in, you know, everybody knows that the game lasts 90 minutes, but we were just so on the ball that day and so concentrated that, and playing so well, you know, we deserved to be 2-0 up, you know, if not 3.
I was buying tickets to the World Cup already.
Frank Lowy had parted company with Australian soccer nearly 20 years before, but he too was swept up in the moment. Decades of disappointment on the world stage were seemingly over.
Watching it on TV, and we were all excited, and we were talking to each other on the phone. I remember my son Peter watched it in Los Angeles, and Stephen, and we were already buying tickets with all the friends to go to Germany. And 20 minutes later, we were not there.
The rest of the story is part of Australian sporting folklore. With 18 minutes to go, a pitch invasion briefly halted the game. Iran regrouped and fired home 2 goals and booked a place on football's biggest stage.
Such disappointment. I mean, when that final whistle went off, I remember being on the park and I'd never felt so empty as that day. It was like just a feeling like my career's over sort of thing, you know, it's all over.
Now, 8 years later, another World Cup playoff looms. If the Socceroos can get past the lowly Solomon Islanders, they'll face an as-yet unnamed South American team for a place in the 2006 finals. But as is typical for Australian soccer, there's more action off the field than on. A few matches out, we have a new national coach in Dutchman Guus Hiddink, a new professional competition in the A-League. But still, even the most ardent fans believe it'll take a miracle for the Socceroos to qualify for the World Cup.
If making the World Cup's the top of the mountain, you know, we're sort of halfway up, you know, because to me, right at this time, we're probably 50-50 to get through. You've got to get there 8, 10 times, you know, coming from a country like ours, before you even got to think about winning this thing, right? Then we've got a long, long way to go.
The first order of business, says Players Association boss Craig Foster, is to address a deep identity crisis in the local game, to develop a self-confidence that can carry the Socceroos through crises like the Iran meltdown.
We're committed, you know, we are courageous athletes right across, you know, the panorama of sports. You know, we're winners. All those things we should be bringing to bear on the Socceroos, but at the moment, the way we develop players, it's almost as though that's all we've got.
Former Socceroo midfielder Ray Richards was there in Munich, West Germany in 1974, the one and only time Australia has qualified for the World Cup.
Lofting it is Mackay, comes to Richards, shoots a goal!
He says winning in the cauldron of qualifiers is all about heart.
I think it's a passion for the green and gold. We were part-time professionals, and I don't believe professionalism comes with money. I believe professionalism comes with attitude, and I think we had that. That was one of the strengths of the national team, and as I said, the green and gold meant everything to every one of us.
Richard says some of today's Socceroos put their $1 million club contracts before their country.
You know, I look at Harry Cool. Now, Harry's a fabulous player, but I question his commitment to the green and gold. I'm an outsider, I don't know the nitty-gritty, the intricacies of it, but there's a lot of players that unfortunately don't commit themselves to the green and gold like they should.
So that's the bad news for Australia. 2 goals down, there's a chance here to get one back, but can't get it across.
Big-time soccer is a test of courage and grace under fire. 31 years ago in Seoul, South Korea, it was Australia down 2-0. its hopes of qualifying for the 1974 World Cup ebbing away. But coach Rale Rasic was still supremely confident.
Being 2-0 down, I can recall one moment which the man is today 78, John Barkley, who was team manager. He was on my left in Seoul, and second goal for Korea, he said to me, "Rale, we are gone." I grabbed the man with both hands like this, and I'm not that type of aggressive person, and threw him off the bench. Minute later, Karan crosses Bulevic 2-1, and he wants to sit on the bench. I said, no, this bench is not for you. So half-time, I wouldn't allow him as a team manager to enter the dressing room. That was a bit of psychology in it, you know, and I said, this man does not belong to this team.
The nucleus of Rasic's team had been together since 1970, and the bonds were deep and tight.
Tolson to Richards, an easy goal, surely. Number 5.
But it was days before the Seoul match that Rasic saw the true spirit of his team.
When we came to Seoul on so many occasions, we had never problem with the customs. But this time we were kept for 2.5 hours at the airport. And I said to the team, I said, don't you know what's all about? Let's sing. So the team started singing for another half an hour till they made up their minds to get us through.
What did they sing?
But you can imagine what footballers, when they're upset, can sing.
At half-time in Seoul, still down 2-1, Rasic appealed to the mental toughness of his team.
All I did, lock the door that manager couldn't get in, and 2, I said, now, 3-2, 4-2, 5-2, I don't care. I said, the same method, the same tactics, the same everything. We do not change anything. Get on the field and let's clean up this mob.
Playmaker Ray Bartz blasted the equaliser.
Get the ball in to go. Yes!
And the tie went to a decider in Hong Kong just 72 hours later.
I took a free kick and I floated the ball into the edge of the area, and Jimmy hit the ball from about 30 out and he just rocketed into the roof of the net.
For the part-time Socceroos, the emotion of qualifying amongst the world's 16 best football nations was overwhelming.
We went into Hong Kong for the decider, and we were bragging before the game that when we win, we're going to go out and paint the town red, you know, and we were all G'd up, ready to go, and da-da-da. Anyway, we got the result we wanted, and we got back to the hotel, and we just completely disintegrated. We just collapsed. There was that much relief, I think.
In Munich, the Socceroos, pitted against superpowers like West and East Germany, failed to win a match. But Rasic had fulfilled his commitment to the team. They had been to the show.
Once you come into that atmosphere, it's already a big stage. And no one has to tell you how big it is, irrespective of what people tell you. You know, the media all over the world is on your side, and everybody wants to be part of that show. It's absolutely phenomenal feeling, sort of, and you become that actor on that stage once in a lifetime. It's a great privilege.
But the afterglow of the World Cup wasn't to last long. Soon after the return from Munich, Rasic was fired for being too defensive. Now Goose Hiddink shoulders the burden of 32 years of expectation. Hiddink took South Korea to the semi-finals at home in 2002, one of soccer's great fairy tales.
Although Hiddink's been brought in with the national team, it's vital for us now that he's used in the bigger picture as well, that he's used to assess our coaching standard here.
The recently deposed national coach Frank Farina says Australia needs to stop kidding itself that it's a world power.
I think one of the major problems we've got at the moment, because of that long absence from playing in the World Cup, is that I think in the media, I think generally in the public, we actually think we're better than what we are. You know, we only play friendlies every 4-year period. We don't get to play in games where you've got to produce, you know, performances.
Still Davison trying to release Frank Farina. Here's Farina.
Farina, a former Socceroo captain, was appointed coach in the wake of the Iran series. The game's peak body, Soccer Australia, was sliding towards bankruptcy. The local competition, the National Soccer League, was riven with ethnic politics and conflict. Farina was given a 6-year contract to turn it all around with a World Cup berth.
the 6 years that I was in, most probably the most turbulent times ever in Australian soccer's history, or Australian football's history. And I was the only constant over that period of time. You know, I think we went through 7 chairmen, 7 CEOs, possibly even more. I've lost count. And I was the only constant there. And I think that was mostly a good thing for Australian football, because it was already in so much turmoil, the politics. I mean, I mentioned the last 18 months, but to be fair, it was 6 years.
There were flashes of success. A final in the Confederations Cup, a 1-0 home win over Uruguay in a playoff in the 2002 World Cup qualifying rounds. But in the biggest moments, like the return match in Uruguay, the Socceroos were found wanting. Farina survived, but the knives were being sharpened. Farina alleges that the SBS television network, led by its sports chief Les Murray, actively undermined his leadership.
Oh, 100%. I mean, that was just garbage. And I think when you talk of SBS, they'll deny that there was ever any agenda. But if you talk to any people around the streets, any people within the media, it was very obvious that, you know, after the Uruguay series, they basically said all bets were off. And they wanted to see the back of me.
Let's catch up with the latest news coming out of South America.
Though Farina nearly came to blows with an SBS reporter after a game this year, Les Murray denies any war with the coach.
Our history with the FFA concerning Frank Farina concerned only matters to do with our relationship with him in terms of us doing our job as a broadcaster. We were concerned that he wasn't cooperating. There were 2 interviews in which Frank Farina gave one-word answers or 2-word answers, and it was an embarrassment. It was treating the audience with contempt, and we complained about that to the FFA.
Oh, is that a penalty? Well, the Australian players and the Australian bench are on their feet.
Farina's spat with SBS was overshadowed by the Socceroos' dismal performance at this year's Confederations Cup in Germany, where they failed to win a match. Even Farina knew he was gone.
Kindly, Santos, real chance, 2-0.
I realised it was over. You know, I realised that there was no coming back. I'd lost the support of the chairman and the board. And when that happens, there is no future. And you know, at that stage was a time when I thought, well, there's no point anymore.
In hindsight, perhaps Farina's was always an impossible task. Australia has never produced a world-class coach. Farina was the first Socceroo mentor to be born in Australia.
We are the only country in the world, aside from those below us, we're certainly the only country in the top 30 or 40 where we aspire to be, who would expect that a coach of 6 or 7 years career length in football could coach in international football. It is next to impossible.
When I took the job on, I rang up Frank Farina and I said, Frank, how many people work for you? He says, I'm alone. When the team does not perform, it's quite customary in the football world, soccer world, that the coach departs.
To Frank Lowy, there was nothing personal in Farina's departure. When you take over an underperforming asset, it's the people who have to go.
The most important thing, I think, that I initiated is to change, make a total and absolute change. Again, not because the people were bad, if the system was bad. And you can only change the system if you change the people. And John O'Neill is like a breath of fresh air. We're talking about sports management. And it's a professional business, just like building shopping centers, just like doing television shows.
Congratulations, you made it. Like this, let's do it. Like this, how many dudes you know go like this?
The new A-League is the expression of Lowy's vision, an 8-team, 21-game professional competition. It's attracted the likes of former UK Premier League star Dwight Yorke, former Australian star defender Ned Zelic, now with the Newcastle Jets, has returned after a decade of wandering the pro leagues of Europe. Are you here to play football or just sort of slide gracefully into retirement?
No, that's not my mentality. I want to play the game as long as I can. If it gets to the point where I think maybe I'm slowing down a little bit, I'll be the first one to go down and buy the hammer and nails and hang the boots up in the garage. Yeah?
The winner of the A-League will play in the Asian Champions League, providing a new financial vista for clubs in the world's fastest-growing soccer region. Frank Lowy's Sydney Football Club is the hot tip for this year.
Quite bizarrely, you know, little more over a year after being conceived, Sydney will be